Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, some very suspicious activity in Manchester Airport indeed. I think what's really suspicious is the lack of information that's coming about a few certain key areas, and it really screams out to me certain things that I've been talking about in my, in my previous videos. So before we get on to the suspicious things, just for those of you who don't know, Manchester Airport in the UK, I think it's the second largest airport outside London. There was a huge, the media reporting it as, the media are reporting it as a power outage. So Sunday the 23rd, I think it was, around 01:30 in the morning, there was a power cut. All the airport ran out, power went down. Terminal 3 was restored, Terminal 1 and 2 were still down. Now, these Terminal 1 and 2 are back online now. Everything's working as it should. But there was a period in time where, there was no power to Terminal 1 and Terminal 2. Remember, guys, okay, what I feel, and I don't usually go out and say this, but I feel what we're being told in the media is very redacted, and I feel that they're hiding certain things from us, as I'll come to later on. So that's the reality of the situation on what happened. Why is electricity important? Again, if you think of these big infrastructure places like airports now, without electricity they just don't function. So no electricity means no light, probably no running water, no CCTV, no scanners, those X-ray scanner things, none of the security systems will work, as also the security systems as in the doors, none of those will work, none of the customs machines that'll work that you can put your passports in, none of the computers will work, so you can't, turn your computer on and log on that way. So guys, I'm sure there's a lot more, but you understand where I'm going with this. As soon as the electricity goes off in an airport, the whole thing is just, it's just not working. Now, I've been looking at this and I've been searching and trying to find out, different avenues to go down. I really can't get to the bottom of what happened, which is giving me my first suspicion. So first they said, on media, because we never know what's happened, the perception was that there was a power outage. Okay, fine, a power outage. I'm not sure why Terminals 1 and 2 were out for so long. Then we were told that it was a power outage, and then when the power came back on, there was a power surge. Again, I don't know how that happens. I can only assume maybe if what they're telling us is true, they could have gone to a backup generator and something failed and then all the electricity went at once. I don't know what happened. But guys, for two terminals of an airport to be gone, finished, not working, no power, that is a huge incident. These things should have redundancies for redundancies for redundancies. When you pay your, when these companies are, when we're paying them our taxes, as in airport taxes, not government taxes. When we're paying these things, this money should be spent on redundancy systems, on backup systems, on things that can, make sure that airport functions in the time of an emergency. Now, today, where people are talking about, a fault in a cable, a fault or a break in a cable. So you see, we have changed a lot from, the story's changed quite a bit from an outage, a surge, to a fault in a cable. Now, this fault in the cable's really interesting, because another word for a fault could be a break. But they've got to be very careful with the language they use, because nobody wants to, start saying things that are wrong, or saying things that may alert further investigation. For example, if Manchester Airport came out and they said, yeah, there's a massive piece of cable missing, or there's a 6-inch piece of cable missing in a crucial point and all the systems have gone down, that would obviously, some journalists and some people with a little more inquisitive minds may think, oh, well, why is there a piece of 6-inch piece of cable missing? I'm not saying that's happened. I'm saying that it's the language that they're using is very, it's really strange that the language they're using, and the lack of causation coverage is really concerning as well. you know, you would like to think that whenever somebody is covering an article, an issue, an incident, they would always, and I can't think of an incident when they've not, they would always talk about the incident as in how it happened, why it happened. Okay, it was a power cut. Why was there a power cut? Okay, there was a power surge. Why was there a power surge? Okay, there was a fault in the cable. What do you mean by fault? Right, okay, why was that fault? So the lack of reporting on this is, to me, it's really strange, and it's really for me it seems almost incriminating. You know, why there's no, you know, other coverage about this. So that's really what I feel, you know, suspicious about this, the lack of coverage on the causation elements of this incident. And again, you know, I literally did a video, I think the day before this incident, I did a video on how lessons from the war in Ukraine, the conflict in Ukraine, could be used on the UK energy grid. You know, I identified how, in fact, I'll link that video to the end of this video, guys. You know, I identified how fragile our energy system really is and how fragile our grid is. And I think this incident in Manchester Airport is only confirmation of what I was saying in that video. So, sabotage or not, it doesn't really, you know, whether this is being sabotaged, you know, or not, it doesn't really matter. Why? Well, Manchester Airport as a private company, they are never, ever in a million years going to admit that they've had an act of sabotage. Why? Well, first of all, it means their security doesn't work. So if their security doesn't work on their, however this was, on their electrical grid or wherever, that means that their security doesn't work in general. So if their security doesn't work in general, that means the airport is unsafe. If it's an unsafe airport, how much money do you think Manchester Airport are going to lose? So as an airport, Manchester Airport, they will never openly admit this. They will never surrender this information to us. So whether it's a sabotage attack or not doesn't really matter. It really happened. There was a problem, and the power did go on. Now, remember what we've said before about these soft attacks. Remember my top 10 video where I think I did electricity as number 3. These are all soft targets that our adverse nations will be identifying. And these can all be done by, all these attacks, if it was an attack, could have been done by a criminal gang. Somebody that's basically been paid to go and sabotage or do something to a piece of cable. Remember, that's what they're talking about now. They're saying that Manchester Airport is, and I'll put all the links into the description, guys. They're saying that Manchester Airport was a fault in a cable. What do they mean by fault? Do they mean it's been broken? Do they mean it's been chopped up? It could mean anything, guys, all right? So that's the way we're moving forwards, and this could have been 100% done by, you know, criminal gangs. So let's just remember that, you know, the electricity infrastructure. Then, if you want, you've got domestic, so you've got houses and, you know, domestic, you know, houses, flats, apartments, all that sort of stuff. You've got small commercial. So these are like, you know, shops, retail, I think like your fast food restaurants, they would go down with this as well. You've obviously got large commercial, so then you'd have like your shopping malls and stuff like that. I actually think the airport would come under large commercial, although it may be industrial. You've got industrial, so things like your steel plants, your rolling mills, your, you know, things that use huge amounts of electricity. They're kind of the users. Then the infrastructure supplying that, you've got transformers, you've got substations, you've got power lines, and you've got your generation plants themselves, which are like gas, coal, nuclear, wind, solar, renewables. Now, this particular incident, as we understand it, as you know, as of doing this video, this was an issue with one of the power cables or the power lines. But you can see that whole infrastructure, there is so much fragility in that, you know, and vulnerability in that area. You know, is Manchester Airport, is this an act of sabotage? It could well be. Now, I'm not saying it is, I'm not speculating that it is. What I'm saying is, it could be, and the reality is, we as the consumers will more than likely never know because of the financial implications. You know, if somebody admits this. But moving forward, look at all the fragility in that system, guys, okay? There's so much fragility there, it's unbelievable. These transformers, as we've seen, the power lines, the substations, how many people live and drive past the substation every day, and you probably look at it every day and you're like, oh yeah, there's some electricity cables going into there. How easy would it be for, these criminal gangs now that are paid by someone just to break into there and and to destroy it? They don't even have to destroy it as such. They just have to take out a few key components and everywhere's out of power. Look at the carnage that this caused in Manchester Airport, and if it's true that it's just one cable that's being destroyed, think about this times 10. Think about this as a coordinated event where you've got multiple substations going down, multiple power cables being cut. You've got water stations being sabotaged. You've got gas facilities. All this stuff, guys, all this stuff can be done by our adversaries while they're sat in their home country. They're not risking any manpower. There's absolute 100% plausible deniability, so we can never pinpoint it on an adversary nation. And all the time, look at the carnage it would cause to that country. Guys, it's unbelievable, and nobody's talking about these, these soft war targets, these grey warfare targets. That it's not particular a military target. It's not really a high value civilian target. But you put all these together, and you have literally the country at its knees in chaos. Just look at the chaos one little piece of cable caused in Manchester Airport, guys. Now imagine if these things are happening regular. Imagine that, guys, and think, what would you do? Like, are you and your family ready? Do you live near one of these big places? Do you have an electric car? Where are you going to go, guys? Okay, so the purpose of this video, guys, is just to use this Manchester Airport as a, just as a talking point of the vulnerabilities in our system, and just to reiterate to you guys, get what you need right now, because the time is coming when everybody's going to understand what's happening, and people are going to be rushing out to get these things because they're going to see these things happen more and more. And as soon as that happens, you will have, look what happened with the the toilet roll incidents in like what were we on? I forgot what year it is, like 2020. Everybody was out panic buying for everything, and once this panic buying starts, it spreads really quickly because somebody sees somebody else panic buying, and then they're like, oh, right, well, I've got some toilet roll, but what if I need more and there's none left? So they go and buy more toilet roll, and then there's less toilet roll, and by the time you know it, there's I don't know, you know where I'm going with this, guys. Absolutely wild times. Takeaway from this video is look at Manchester Airport, look what's happened from a little piece of cable. Could it be sabotage? Doesn't matter. The reality is we should all get ready in case this does happen. Guys, I'm going to mag to grid.